Hello and welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather and Water Facts. We're continuing our conversation with hydrologist Crane Johnson as part of Flood Preparedness Week in Alaska. In this segment, we'll take a closer look at how Riverwatch operates in the field, how forecasters communicate with communities, and why local knowledge plays such an important role during river breakup. Here's more from our conversation.
Each year we try to classify or try to describe through our outlooks and during the process whether the river is going to break up thermally, where the ice just melts in place, or whether it may break up dynamically. And that's where there's a strong push from snowmelt into intact, hard, strong ice. And that's when we see ice jams. And so we've got two general types: a thermal breakup, which is often called a mushout in rural Alaska, and then a dynamic or mechanical breakup where we see ice jams and flooding occur. Key components are snowpack, so how much snow we have on the ground. That drives how much SWE or snow water equivalent we have available to run off each spring. And then ice thicknesses. And so we've got that balance between snowpack and ice that each year are sort of pushing against each other, whether it's going to be a thermal or dynamic breakup. The real key component that we struggle with early in April are spring temperatures. The temperatures the last 2 weeks of April and the first week of May really drive the character of breakup each year. So even with a record snowpack, it's not a guarantee for ice jams and flooding during that year. It's really comes down to what our springtime temperature regime looks like. Worst case would be if we had a rapid warm up in temperatures. And that's difficult to forecast early in April. We're really concerned what can really drive a bad breakup would be extreme temperatures the first week of May. And so at that point, we just have Climate Prediction Center outlooks for above average or below average. But really, we don't have a tool that can tell us, will we have 3 days of record warm temperature in May? One of the most important things for breakup and for ice jam formation are midwinter breakups. And so they'll describe that we had, say, a midwinter breakup downstream of Napaimute with 5-foot thick jumble ice. And for us, that's an area of concern that we would watch out for throughout the breakup process. They help with both the timing. They'll tell us directly what they see in the smaller streams. As snowmelt progresses, it'll be the smaller streams that see flow first, and then the medium-sized rivers, and then the larger rivers. So they'll give us direct feedback on where we are in terms of timing and what they see sort of locally with the river ice. We have no way to remotely measure river ice thickness, and so we rely on local community members, local community observers to measure the river ice thickness and describe the character. I think as we move forward over the last 10 years, we've started to use more satellite imagery, more remote sensing, more web cameras. Now we've got web cameras trained on some of our rivers throughout Alaska. And I think into the future, that's going to continue. We're going to rely more on satellite information to understand how the rivers are breaking up throughout the state. And these webcams, whether they're for an airport flying conditions or from a research group focused straight on the river ice. I think in the future, like those two things will increase. Other things that could play a role are unmanned aircraft systems. We've started to use that a little bit within Riverwatch. We definitely receive drone footage from community members, and it's incredibly valuable to. There's one thing where you're on the side of the river and just looking at just a small reach and understanding the river ice. It's a much better thing when you can pop up with the drone and look upstream and downstream and get a better sense of sort of what the river conditions are within a few miles of a community. So I think those three things, sort of the remote webcams, satellite imagery, and then the use of UAS or drone aircraft, and will be what changes over the next 10 years. One thing that I think will stay the same over the next 10 years is the Riverwatch program. I don't see that going away. While these technologies may improve our situational awareness, I think we're still going to need that sort of direct observation of breakup to really provide the service we need for communities, identify those ice jams, and provide the warnings and watches. From about mid-March to mid-April, we're in the preparedness phase, and we work really closely with our state partners to give communities information and just provide that yearly reminder that, breakup's around the corner, time to get your flood plans ready, your community meetings set, and be ready. Because even on a year where we don't think there's a significant or a high flood threat, ice jam floods are still possible. We're often, I've learned not to be surprised, but even on years where we have a below average flood potential, we've had floods in the past. And so there's about that month-long period where the focus is preparedness, where we message out along with our state partners to work with the local communities. And then during breakup itself, it's monitoring and sharing that information with the local communities. We look at our partners or our customers as our state partners, and then our local community partners. And we have upwards of 70 to 75 local communities that we focus on each year during breakup. And then after the breakup phase, we're sort of into our open water flood season and thinking about how breakup went this year and how we can improve operations for next year. Whether it's a better focus on preparedness, improve our forecasting techniques, whether it's for severity or for breakup timing. But then we spend the next 9 months both forecasting and trying to improve our tools for the following year.
Thanks for watching another edition of Alaska Weather and Water Facts. During Flood Preparedness Week, we've taken a closer look at river breakup, river watch, and how communities and forecasters work together to reduce flood risk. River flooding can happen quickly during breakup, but being informed and prepared can make all the difference. As always, be prepared and stay safe.